Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at the DRF race of the day for Wednesday, January the 31st. Race number 9 at Tampa Bay Downs. We're going 5/8 of a mile on the turf. It's a second level allowance with a $32,000 claiming option. We take a look at this field. Now, we're not used to seeing past Breeders' Cup winners on Wednesday afternoon cards at Tampa Bay Downs, but the number 5, Storm the Court, is seeking his first victory since the 2019 Breeders' Cup Juvenile when he pulled off a 45-1 shocker.
Yeah, you'll be forgiven if you didn't remember that he won the Breeders' Cup several years ago as a 2-year-old. He did run well that day, though, Dan. I mean, they've tried a lot of different things with him. He hasn't won a race since then. Overall, his form's held up pretty well, though, and he has shown that he can sprint on the grass in his last 2 starts.
Number 2, Spike Zone, you see is even money on the morning line, but he is entered for main track only. Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector for this race. The number 6, Crocodile Hunter, is pretty fast out of the gate, whether it be turf or dirt. The question is he good enough to handle a field like this? Because Rainbow's Pride is also pretty fast. Even the number 9, Mike, has shown some speed, Bohemian Boy, especially when beating a few of these 2 starts back.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, I don't know that I agree with this pace projector all that much, but maybe it'll play out this way. Maybe Crocodile Hunter will wind up fastest and on the lead. He's got a lot to prove in this race, though, Dan. This feels like a pretty good test for this horse. He's a great price on the line.
Storm the Court's the number 5. You see the LP flag over his chiclet indicating the fastest Timeform US late pace rating. Let's start the analysis with the 1, Phantom Smoke. The last time he ran on turf was at the Meadowlands, and he just smoked them in gate-to-wire fashion. So he does have speed, but he's also a horse that I don't think needs the lead to prevail. If he breaks under Jesus Castana, I can see him sitting a perfect pocket trip. Just throw out his last start on the synth.
Exactly. I mean, there's a way to look at this horse and just feel like he's going to, no matter what the pace looks like early in this race, he's going to get a great trip in here because he could make the lead in this race if it's not that fast. But if he doesn't, he's just going to sit right in behind. He's shown that he can do that several times in the past. I really like these shorter sprints for him, too. I wouldn't get, too excited about that win 2 starts back at the Meadowlands. I mean, he got absolutely loose on the lead in there and never faced a challenge. But he doesn't need that kind of a trip to be effective.
Yeah, I usually don't trust the Meadowlands races too much. Usually a lot of weak horses run there, but this is a guy that's run very competitively against New York bred stock at Saratoga and decent second level allowances. So he definitely classes up with these. And as you mentioned, has the tactical speed to work out his own trip. The 2 is Spike Zone. He's entered main track only off of a big victory on the dirt last time out. If this race is washed off, he's very dangerous for the high percentage trainer Jamie Ness. I think the 3, Monsieur Coco, is one of the keys to this race. I loved his race 3 starts back at Keeneland. It was a race where he was hustled out of there. He must have been 4 wide all the way through the turn and into the stretch, and he kept on trying to finish second. And I really like that performance, but his 2 subsequent races just haven't been there for me.
I'll agree with you on the race 3 back. I feel like he ran an underrated race there. Listen, he didn't get involved in his last 2. He was also in way tougher than that. I mean, those 2 fields are way better than the field he's going to face in this race at Tampa. He's 0 for 7 on the grass, but I don't feel like that tells the whole story. And they just run in one tough spot after another. And he actually has a little bit of speed. I mean, he could be close to the pace in this race. The pace projector doesn't have him up there, but this horse could be close to the pace in here.
And as you mentioned, it was a tough spot last time out against No Nay Hudson, a horse that Monsieur Coco's actually finished ahead of in the past. So he does have quality, Monsieur Coco. The 7th place finisher from that last race came back to place on synthetic for a $50,000 starter optional over the synthetic with an 84 buyer. He ran on December the 1st, vet scratch 3 weeks later, now up at Tampa Bay Downs. Here's the 4, Devil's Only Friend. This horse was wired by the favorite last time out at Gulfstream on the synth, Mike, but he was also up close to the pace, listed as a Gulfstream vet scratch January 20th.
I mean, he's got a little bit of speed. He has won each of his last 2 starts in his career sprinting on the grass, and he did it in wire-to-wire fashion, Dan. I think you'll get some speed out of this horse in this race. Whether he's good enough is another question.
He's won his last 2 starts on the turf. His last 3 races have been on synthetic. He seems better on the lawn. The 3rd place finisher from the last race on synthetic returned to run 3rd in a similar spot with an 85 buyer speed figure. Storm the Court is up next. Breeders' Cup Juvenile winner 2019. No wins since then. He's trying to rebuild his career as a turf sprinter at the age of 7. He was second last time out, Mike, and it was a race where the pace was pressured, but it wasn't very fast. Storm the Court made a 4 wide bid into the lane, trudged on for a minor award. Maybe this pace gets a little more peppy for him.
We'll see. I mean, I'm not really sure how this pace is going to play out, but there's certainly a chance it could be fast enough for him. Listen, I like I think he's shown in his last two that he can sprint on the turf just fine. I really like the fact that he's been taken over by Bill Morey at his last two starts, because that guy does a great job. And if anybody's going to get this horse really back in the top form, it's probably him. I don't know, Dan. He ran okay last time. To me, it was nice to see him get a share a second. I didn't think he had some kind of huge excuse there. And even the race two back, I know he was dropping back from a 9 furlong race to a 5 furlong race. That's really hard to do. He had a great trip in that race. He had every chance to win. He couldn't get it done.
Crocodile Hunter is up next. Lone win on turf came against fellow Minnesota breds at Canterbury Park. He's going dirt to turf. He finished behind Storm the Court in several of these two starts back. Didn't really see the big excuse.
He's a really tough horse to like in this race, I think, but he is a great price on the line, Dan. I mean, if you want to give him an excuse for the race two back when he was behind a couple of these, he did bobble and then get bumped at the start, and he just wound up back off the pace there. And maybe that's just not how he wants to run. He didn't really do any running after that, but he did have a poor start to that race. And the turf start prior to that one, that was a good field, and he did wind up dueling the pace with the even money favorite who won the race. And so maybe he ran better than it looked that day. I still don't like him in here, but I guess there are ways to say he's dirtied up on the way in here.
And he showed a little bit of speed in this spot. Here's a nice story. The 7, Bambub Blue, back for another year of racing at the ripe old age of 12. And the last time we saw him, well, he could still step. This is on September the 6th at Delaware. He worked out a nice second over trip from just behind the leaders, eased out into the lane and grinds them down.
This is a good performance for this horse. He got a good trip in here overall, but this is a determined stretch run. The horse is getting through on the rail there, the judge and jury. Pretty good measuring stick for this horse, because Bambub Blue is going to run this horse down. The judge and jury at the end of last year here at Tampa, he dead heated with Storm the Court for second. So it's a pretty good measuring stick for this horse. His turf sprint form overall is really strong. He's got really good tactical speed. He's good enough to beat these horses.
The race we saw came off of about a 3+ month layoff, which is the same layoff coming into this race. Not too concerned about it. Seems like the old guy knows how to take care of himself. The 8 is Uncaptured Star, and it's really hard to decide whether Uncaptured Star likes turf or not. He's raced twice on the surface. Once was a stakes race where he was 73-1 down at Gulfstream Park and probably overmatched, and the other a 2-turn race where he chased a very fast pace set by a sharp winner. So I have no idea if he wants to run on turf or is just simply better on dirt, but he should show speed in this spot.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know either. I mean, I guess the problem, even if you think he's better on turf, and he hasn't shown that in either of the two starts, but even if you think he is, he's got to be way better on turf than he is on the other surfaces, because on paper, this horse is totally overmatched.
Bohemian Boy finished ahead of several of these, including Storm the Court 2 starts back. He battled for the lead from in between horses and then was game to win in the 2-path late. They ran him at Gulfstream last time out, just was way overmatched in a race where some quality horses ran 1-2 around the track. Big class drop for him here. And another horse that's tactical enough where he can get close to the pace without having to go crazy up front.
Yeah, exactly. I get him being the morning line favorite in here. He ran pretty well to win that race 2 starts back. He was just in too tough last time. I expect him to be forward in this race, and he's a major player in here.
Rainbow's Pride is the number 10. Now, he was in that race against Bohemian Boy, and he was hustled from the inside to set that 3-ply pace. Bohemian Boy confronted him from the outside in the stretch. And listen, Rainbow's Pride just couldn't step with them late. He tried his best. He certainly outran his 33-1 odds. Maybe drawing outside some of these other horses lessens the pressure he would face in the early part of this race, but he will have to do a little better.
He will, but I'll agree with all that stuff. I mean, this horse ran fine in that race. Part of that pace, he was still hanging around in very deep stretch there before he finally let it go at a big price. He was also on very short rest that day, about 2 weeks from his prior start. I don't know if he's going to be able to back that race up, but if he does, he could be there.
Before we take a look at our top selections, please click the subscribe button on the Daily Racing Form YouTube channel for the latest DRF videos. Top pick time, Wednesday race of the day, Phantom Smoke breaking from the inside, tactical speed works out a trip at a price.
Like this spot for this horse, and I do think there's a good trip coming. That's why I put him on top. And here, the other horse for me was the 3, Monsieur Coco. I really only like those 2 horses.
I'm looking to see if Storm the Court can break a long losing streak by sitting just off the pace this time. I think this pace is going to get competitive. I'm interested a little bit in your second pick, the 3, Monsieur Coco. That Keeneland race was really good. And you're right, maybe he just hasn't been as aggressive against tougher horses in his last 2. 1375 for Mike, 5710-3 for me. Your Wednesday race of the day, the finale at Tampa. Best of luck.